The voters are the victim of the disinformation that's spreading.
Millions of tweets, Facebook posts, and unreliable news stories circulated false information to many voters during the 2016 US presidential election. But the problem hasn't gone away, and disinformation is still a major threat to democracy, given that it's becoming a more common tactic within American politics.
Campaigns everywhere are facing an onslaught of disinformation, and there's a couple big threats that it poses to campaigns, but the biggest group that's threatened by the disinformation are the voters. The voters are the victim of the disinformation, and they are the ones that suffer when people decide to share those attacks. If we think about who has learned lessons from 2016, it's very clear, studies have come out that a lot of the mainstream media especially has not figured out how to report on disinformation without making it worse. Of course, there are good actors out there who have learned. Misinformation and disinformation are different because of intent. Misinformation is false information, rumors, misleading information that is shared without the intent to harm anyone or confuse anyone. So if I made a mistake about the date of a birthday party, that would be misinformation. Disinformation is false or misleading content that is actively pushed to mislead or harm someone.
Disinformation operates based on confirmation bias, which means it operates by appealing to people's ideological beliefs. People really need to pay a special attention to any kind of information or content that is trying to appeal to their side specifically.
Disinformation isn't new, but experts say it has evolved beyond politics to other hot-button issues, including the nation's response to the coronavirus pandemic. The key reason? Social media.
We know that there have been studies that say the disinformation problem on the platforms is worse than it was in 2016. We also know that just this year, during a pandemic, they let medical disinformation, rumors about healthcare circulate during a pandemic. The social media companies have taken steps to, combat some of this, but frankly, it's too little too late.
There's also a responsibility that the platforms have to deal with some of this stuff, especially when the disinformation affects critical aspects of our democracy, like voting and the census. People should really pressure the social media platforms to do something about this kind of content. I think we've seen the level of policy changes that are necessary to stem the tide of disinformation. I mean, the ultimate issue that you run into is that disinformation is extremely easy to create.
Bad actors try to bypass having to credibly source their information by getting us to move the information around in our social networks for them. And so they want us to share it. They want us to share it even if we're saying that's not true, because they want it to be in our trusted networks. And we have to figure out how to get smart on it because it's not going to go away no matter the outcome of the election.